Hello, Crystal Palace. Welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Live Lunch. This is a place to share positive and useful information, keep us all connected and find out about the local community in a bit more depth. So my guest today is Catherine Shaw, who makes wedding dresses and theatrical costumes in Cooper's Yard under the name of Allbone and Trimit. Catherine, it's lovely to have you here. Tell us a bit about your background and what got you interested in designing clothes.
My background is theatre. I did theatre design course at Croydon College of Art and then specialised in costume and worked in that genre for many, many years. And I set up Allbone and Trimit 15 years ago.
Wow.
With the idea of making wedding dresses that could be worn again. So they've got an afterlife and a longer life than the average white wedding dress.
Presumably worn in different contexts rather than worn for multiple
Absolutely.
weddings.
Yes.
Excellent. Where does the name Allbone and Trimit come from?
Well, it was an idea I had because I didn't want to use my name. That was the whole issue. And I wanted a name that was memorable, was indicative of my creative art. And Allbone and Trimit came from the fact that a lot of costumes are boned and they're trimmed. Mm-hmm. And it sort of has the ring of a solicitor's type name to it. And I just wanted something quite crisp. And so that's how it came about.
It did make me think of corsets straight away. That was what came to mind.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Tell us a bit about your the current different strands of your work, because you do several different things, don't you?
Yes, I've gyrated back into theatre and film and TV costume, which is quite different from making doing my own designs and making wedding dresses. I take on a different role for that particular aspect of the work.
Okay. Tell us a bit about that then. What is your role within? So I know you've been doing some really interesting filming projects recently. So how do you fit into the filming, the overall kind of job, I suppose?
Well, I work with the designer, and he or she have been employed by the director or producer, because the director or producer has an overall view of the production, whether it's a film, theatre or TV. And the costume designer is hopefully going to bring all of that to life. And working with the costume designer, I have to turn their 2D designs into 3D working models.
Okay.
So a bit of a technician, slightly.
And presumably, tell us about the challenges of that. What makes that not just literally taking a 2D design and making it 3D? There must be things that you sometimes have to change.
Very much so. It depends. A lot of it depends on the fabric choice. Sometimes fabrics have to be treated beforehand to make them stiffer, or washed to make them more pliable. And it's working with a designer. Designer will draw something or produce some photographic inspiration, and then from that I need to turn it into a costume that's going to fit on the actual actress, and also that she can work in.
So I guess there might be limitations around that, like especially maybe with period costumes where they would have been quite tightly boned, and I don't know, you tell me. Is that a challenge sometimes?
That can be an issue, but most people enjoy wearing corsets because it improves your posture, and you stand more, pronounced. And so a lot of people, they don't mind wearing corsets, but it's if they have to run and we have a full skirt and we have to adapt to the areas, you know, or if they're in a theatre and they've got to wear harnesses, if they're being moved around and flown up or things, you know, there's a lot of different things that have to be incorporated. And then for film and TV, film and TV, there's also the microphone pack, which has to go in somewhere quite discreetly.
Yeah, of course. All these things that you just never think of from an outside point of view. I suppose it's quite helpful from a characterization point of view to be wearing the appropriate costumes. As you said, it changes your posture. So in terms of how you stand and how you walk, if you're wearing the appropriate period costume, that must actually make it easier to kind of stand and walk how you're supposed to for that period, does it?
I would think so, yes, because they then become even more ingratiated into the character, because they're wearing the appropriate clothes of either the period or the design, whether it's futuristic or in the past. They are then, it's more of a statement that they are that person for the viewer to see.
Yeah, interesting, really fascinating. Just before we talk about the some of the recent projects you've been doing, I'm just going to say hello to Noreen, Nikki, Lucinda, Helen and Samantha, who've all joined us on Facebook, I think. It's great to have you guys with us. If you have any questions or comments for Catherine as we go along, please do put them in the social media feed. Anybody else who's joined us, put any comments or questions in the social media feed, whichever platform you're on, and we will answer them as we go along. So Catherine, you mentioned to me earlier 2 particular filming projects that you've been involved in. I would love to know about them in more detail.
Yes, I did Catherine the Great in 2018. That was with Helen Mirren. And that was a really interesting project because it was about the latter part of her life as the Tsarina of Russia. And they were made, the patterns were all made here and taken out to Lithuania where the filming was being done. But some of there was lost in translation how these 18th century bodices and garments need to be put together. So it did entail a few trips out there, which was really interesting.
Wow. So in terms of making up the pattern, certain things were not.
Yes, okay. I mean, 18th century isn't your everyday make. So, you know, it's, and the wardrobe over in Lithuania, there was only one woman that spoke English. So it was very difficult everything was done by little diagrams and drawings. Wow. And, you know, so, but that speaks volumes. You know, you can do a little sketch of something and then they can see, and then it's, you know, so luckily with sewing you can do that.
Universal language.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So that was a really interesting project working on that, and we did the fittings here in London with Helen Mirren due to her schedule, and then everything was made over in Lithuania.
Wow.
And last year I spent 5 months in Hungary working on a Netflix production, The Alienist, in its second series, The Angel of Darkness. So I was working out there and nobody spoke English out there.
Wow.
So that was my little team, none of them spoke English. So that again was a bit of a challenge, but we managed, you know, a few drawings and a little bit of jiggery pokery, and it all came together.
Fantastic. So, we've actually been showing some of the photographs as we go along. So what you guys are seeing are a mixture of photos from the design process through to the finished creation. So I think there's some pictures where you can see that you can see the seams and things as the dresses are actually being made. So that's what the photos are, just in case you're wondering. It's that the design process through to the finished product. So we actually have a question, Catherine, from Lucinda Lane. She says, do you do any workshops or anything like that?
No, I don't. I haven't done anything like that because very often I'm taken away with theatre, and I'm along theatre and film, and I'm away for quite lengthy time. So I haven't actually thought about doing workshops at all. So maybe that's something I can readdress.
Yeah. Interesting. Lucinda, do you have anything particular that you're interested in doing? I mean, I guess it would be quite difficult to do sort of a one-off workshop or a short series on how to make a costume or something, because the process. How long does it take actually, Catherine? I mean, obviously, how long is a piece of string? But from having a design through to actually a finished with Catherine the Great and the Alienist, sort of what time frame are we looking at?
You're probably looking at a time frame if it was done from end to end. But these things never are, because there's bits and pieces that change, and you have to backtrack, and you have to undo, and you have to take apart and then put it back together. There's all things like that. I would say the average costume takes between a week and 2 weeks to make. Mm-hmm. If you did it in one long continuous.
And would that be you on your own working 8 hours a day kind of thing?
No, that would be probably maybe two or three people working on it. Mm-hmm. It does depend on the costume though, and what's involved, and because there's a lot of hand finishing which takes time. Okay. And it has to be made in a robust manner. Mm-hmm. So it's going to withstand the filming, just the general wear and tear.
Yeah, of course.
Of a costume.
Do they have to be more robust than a kind of a normal piece of clothing that you just wear for a day, day to day, normal everyday clothes kind of thing?
They do, really, especially period costume. It has to be a bit more robust, and probably no more than they would have been in the original day. But clothes, it's very different the way clothes are made now to how they used to be. So it's just and a theatre costume would be even more robust, because that is looking at the average opera costume needs to last around 10 years.
Wow.
And they're brought back not every season, but it has to have durability and wearability, and it has to be able to be altered back, and so there's a lot of different parameters with the theatre costume to a film costume that's just made for a specific person.
Yeah, and I suppose with theatre costumes you're likely to be using them for kind of multiple shows with very little time between, so you might have weeks or months of a run where you're doing nearly every night, so they really have to withstand a lot of wear.
Yes, they do, and it can be years and years that they're there. I mean, a lot of theatre costumes in the West End will be renewed and remade after a length of time, because they just basically, the cleaning, the wearing, they just don't look sparkly, so they will be renewed and remade constantly.
Yeah, interesting. Tell us about the other strand of your business is actually making bespoke, mainly wedding and cocktail dresses, or sort of evening dresses, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, that was an idea I had when I set this company up. I wanted to make wedding dresses that could be worn again for other occasions, and turned into party frocks. So they had a bigger lifespan than the one day you wear your wedding dress and it's put in a box and in the loft or under the stairs. Yeah. So that was where that was my starting point, that people could, so it's an expense to have a dress made because of the actual work involved, and it's good that you can wear these items of clothes again, I feel.
It always seems so terribly sad, actually, the amount of effort and cost that goes into a wedding dress for it to be worn once. It always seems so sad to me. So I love I love that that's your aim.
Yes, and people come with lots of different inspirations. Some people are very definite about what it is they want and how they want the wedding dress to look, and other people come with a colour, or they've seen a neckline or a brooch. I had a client who had a brooch made by her niece, and she was going to wear this on the day, and we designed the dress around this brooch with the colours and everything to do with that. So
that's awesome.
People come with lots of different starting points.
So a lot of your job, at least at the start, is about interpreting what people want and how to get it from really varied inspirations. How on earth do you go about doing that?
Well, it's gathering information from the person, their likes and don't likes, whether they prefer a more crisp tailored look, or they want a soft flowing look, if there's a period in history that they enjoy more, like 30s bias cut, or might be a 50s Dior style dress. So it's just gleaning information from people about what makes them tick. And my motto is only ever wear clothes that make you feel like doing a small dance. So if it doesn't make you feel like that, it's not for you.
Amazing.
So it's getting them to find something that's going to, bring that joy out in them.
Yeah. Well, I think as you touched on, it's the cost is obviously very different in getting a bespoke dress to buying one off the shelf. So you'd want to come out with something that you really love. I mean,
exactly.
That would be part of the point of doing it, wouldn't it?
Yes, exactly. So it's just bringing all the elements that the person brings with them and their ideas and turning it into their dream dress. Really, that's
fascinating. And it sounds to me like the bespoke dresses has a much more creative element for you than actually the film and theatre work is about interpreting somebody else's design and making it usable, whereas the bespoke dresses are much more creative from your point of view, are they?
Not necessarily, because I get a lot of joy making a theatre film or a TV costume, because it's working towards it's going to be one part of a big collective, if you like, and a lot of the costumes, they portray the character, so there's a lot of interest in that, and it's just a different avenue making that, because I'm working with another person's design, but there's just as much joy in the interpretation as somebody coming to me and saying, I want this type of wedding dress or cocktail dress because it's for this this event. It's the same, because the end result will be the same, but it's just slightly different, just a slightly different tack.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. And I have to ask, because the whole picture that you're presenting is so beautiful. You are actually in your studio, I think.
Yes, I am.
Tell us just tell us a little bit about it quickly.
It's the most beautiful place down in Cooper's Yard, and I'm in the process at the moment of varnishing the floor, so it's a little bit haphazard in certain areas, but it's a lovely space. And down in Cooper's Yard there are 17 other creative people down here, so there's a lot of people to bounce off. Even if they're not in the same industry as me, it's just they're creative people, and where we are, we have got a beautiful garden, and we sit there and have cups of tea, piece of cake.
Lovely. So you have a little community there.
That's brilliant. Do, very, very close-knit community, and I've been here 15 years now, and it's like a home in a way. It's a really lovely place.
That's fantastic. I suppose the last question is sort of coming towards the end of our time. So the last question I have is, how can people find out more? How can they get in touch if they're interested?
Well, they can go to my website, which is allboneandtrimit.co.uk, or they can call me on, I think the telephone number is on the website. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram.
And now things are opening up again, I guess. Hopefully, sort of in-person fittings are not too far away.
Hopefully not. No, I mean, I think weddings, it's not going to be until next year, I think, before they open up bigger weddings. At the moment, it seems to be just a small group. So, but I've got quite a few wedding dresses in the process for next year. So that's looking
cool.
optimistic.
Well, I might possibly get in touch with you about a concert dress at some point.
Oh, lovely! Yes.
I was very jealous last year. I do these regular concerts at the Musical Museum around Christmas. We have usually sort of 12 to 15 concerts, and all of my 3 colleagues had sparkly things and I didn't have one, and I was so jealous. And I really want a dress. I have so many dresses that I've used for concerts which don't really fit me anymore because my shape has changed. And it's exactly what you were saying actually earlier, that I don't feel joyful when I wear them because they don't really feel like they're quite mine anymore. So yeah. I might have to come and see you for a sparkly.
That would be joyful. Yes, yes. We can just have a chat and see if there's something we can put together.
Cool. Yes. I shall be in touch with you then. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Louise Hayward, he says, how many fittings do you usually have for a wedding dress?
Between 4 and 5. We do a calico toile, which is the mock-up of the wedding dress, and that's where we do a lot of alterations, or we will change the necklines, change where the seams might be, and just get everything absolutely perfect. That's a bit like the blueprint in a way. And then there's probably 4, maybe 5 fittings after that for tweaking and just fine-tuning. So it's quite an in-depth process.
But so important to get it right for a wedding, and then especially for something that is intended to use afterwards as well. You'd really want it to be right.
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Oh, Catherine, so thank you so much. It's been really fascinating to talk to you about this.
Thank you. I really what you do. It's been very good. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will send you a message later about concert dresses. So thank you ever so much. Just before we finish, I have a few announcements to make. I think the first thing I have to say is that so many of our Crystal Palace shops are reopening today, which is lovely, and wishing them all the best. And a few that I know of that are opening today. So the Paxton Centre is open, I think, till 5. For hot desking, but I think you have to book in advance. And also the shop is open, and for coffee and stuff. There's a very careful system about how you get in, how many people are in at the same time and things. So, but I know Beth's been thinking about that very carefully for a while. So the Paxton Centre is open. Decorum has opened today. Alatage is open today, and Papagayo. And I'm sure quite a few others on the triangle that I haven't managed to catch on social media. So wishing everybody all the best. Please do stay safe. There's lots of very sensible restrictions about how far apart, how many people in the shops and stuff. Please do be sensible, but good luck, and I'm so glad to see things opening up again. We have a few things coming up today on our live stream program that might be of interest. So at 1 o'clock, Rin is doing a live streaming class on how to live stream. And today's session is on, can you use music? So that's at 1 o'clock on the Library Hub Facebook page. Tonight, SE19 Dance is doing a healthy spine half-hour class at 6:30. I'm aiming to do that, so may see you there. And then we also have 2 new live streams starting this week. We have Chris Dyke, who is going to be doing, I think, 10 weeks or so on running tips. And he's actually coming to talk to me on the live lunch tomorrow. So if you want to find out a bit more, please do tune in and say hello tomorrow. I think he's particularly looking to help people who are just starting out or who are doing kind of couch to 5K sort of programs. But I'm sure he's got some useful tips for everybody. So do pop along. He'll give us some tomorrow. And then on Saturday, we have a one-off reflexology live stream as well. So do check that out. And then 2 more announcements. One is we're always looking for more guests on the Library Live Lunch. So if you're interested to come and chat to me about what you do and about maybe how things have changed in the current situation and stuff, give us a shout at info@unlt.org. And finally, some of you will have seen in the last couple of weeks, we have a new project starting at the Library Hub, which is very exciting. Several different strands of it. The strand that I'm involved in is doing research into the community about how COVID-19 has affected us, with a view to looking at what the Library Hub can do going forward to help fill any gaps or solve any challenges. So we would love to hear from as many people as possible. There is a very short survey on the website, and we would be so grateful if you would fill it in. We obviously can't do any of this without you. None of this project works without input from the community. So we want to hear from all of you. We particularly want to hear from artists, but we really want a wide diversity from across the whole community. I'm going to let Rin put the website address in the comments because I actually can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But the project is called All Alone Together. It's very obvious when you arrive on the homepage that it's the first thing you'll see. If you click on that, there's a short survey. It'll take you less than 10 minutes. And if you'd be interested in being interviewed by me, we are looking for people to do that. I think it will take about up to an hour, and then the interview will be used firstly as research for the Library Hub, and then secondly edited into a very concise 5 minutes or so podcast, which will be available for people to hear in the Library Hub as part of a Library of Voices. And I have to say, I think it would be absolutely amazing, even, soon in the next year or so, but also decades on, to be able to listen to us all describing our experiences at the time. Sort of audio time capsule is how we're describing it. So we'd love to hear from you. Please do go and fill in the survey. And there are various other strands that are coming up of this project that will particularly be of interest to artists. So please do keep an eye on what's going on and get in touch with us. Thank you very much. Lena Bladbjerg has said that Alatage 2 is turning 3 today. So congratulations to Alatage 2 and to Tina, who owns and set it up. All the best. And I wish that we could have a party, but maybe next year. And hi to Emily Jewell, who's also joined, who could possibly tell us more about the project that I was just talking about, All Alone Together, which has actually been funded by the Arts Council. And that's it from me for today. I think that's enough. So thank you again, Catherine. It's been really lovely to chat to you. And I hope to meet you in person at some point soon. Stay safe, everybody, especially if you're heading around the Triangle today to some of the newly opened shops. All the best, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.